So listen to this. Find me another modern winger not named Ronaldo or Messi with more than 634 goal contributions in 778 matches, won every 101 minutes. Hulk dominated every single league he stepped foot in for 20 years, taking home 26 titles and 38 awards. Every player on the face of the earth was scared of this man, and I don't mean just the goalkeepers. Clearly those wanted nothing to do with a guy known for having on average the strongest shot ever seen in football, the kind that could get you on a stretcher. But even the defenders were getting nightmares just thinking of facing a guy who was simultaneously one of the fastest wingers, one of the best dribblers, and one of the strongest overall players in the sport. I mean, come on, his own family nicknamed him Hulk. The kid used to sit watching the show on TV because he felt they looked alike. It was a green monster played by Lou Ferrigno, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, and yet I do see what he means. Hulk is a genetic anomaly. No one can train to be like him. This isn't Berbatov. It doesn't matter how many times you kick a ball at a wall. From the moment he was born, everyone was shocked at how strong the kid was. Even his mom's doctors found it strange how often his mom had to breastfeed him. It was like he came out of the womb hungry. As his mom said, I had to keep breastfeeding him until he was 3 years old. But the doctors do say babies who drink a lot of maternal milk come out strong, so no wonder he's the way he is. Regardless, that is clearly a problem with Hulk, a reason why he isn't seen as a legend by so many people. Hulk's main goal was always money. He grew up having to get up at 4 a.m. to go help his parents set up their stand at a meat market. By 15, he was already willing to do anything to get out of there. But well, Hulk was not born in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, or anything like that. He was born in Paraíba, over 1,000 miles away. Only like 2 players had ever come out of there and been successful in Europe, and given that, well, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but Wonderkids tend to be skinny, technical players. Hulk stood out for being absurdly strong. He looked nothing like what you'd expect a young Brazilian talent to look like, so no one saw him as one, which meant he had to improvise. First, he was rejected by Corinthians, so he came to Portugal, joined the academy of a third-tier club, and still got rejected again. So he went back, joined São Paulo, became the top scorer of the Under-16 Paulista Championship, and still they refused to spend 18,000 euros on him. So he ended up signing for Vitória, where they initially tried to force him to play as a center-back, claiming a guy as big as him could never be a winger, eventually giving him his debut as a fullback after a year in their academy, meaning that when a Japanese agent showed up just as Vitória were about to get relegated, wanting to buy the transfer rights of a few of their players, Hulk stepped up to the plate immediately. Why stay in a country that keeps bringing you down when halfway across the world you can do everything you ever dreamed of? Ironically, it was this train of thought that destroyed his legacy. By the time he hit his prime, every club in the world wanted him. It seemed it was his destiny to bring Brazil their long-awaited 6th World Cup alongside with Neymar. But instead, by then, all he knew, all that he had ever been rewarded for in his life, was following the easiest route, usually the one that made him the most money. After an unsuccessful first loan in Japan, a year later, Hulk ended up at Consadole Sapporo in the 2nd tier, and out of nowhere, something clicked, scoring 26 goals in a season, only one short of topping the goal-scoring charts and earning a move onto Tokyo Verdy, where he immediately tied the record for the most goals and the most hat-tricks in the history of the league, then getting them promoted and quickly going on a streak of 7 goals in 10 matches, right up to the moment the summer transfer market opened in Europe, which exposed a conspiracy that only further explains why Hulk's career moves were so strange. When Porto approached Tokyo Verdy hoping to buy Hulk, they ended up realizing the club didn't really even own him. Hulk was also registered as a player in a 2nd-tier Uruguayan club named Rentistas. His agent Juan Figuer, the same man that handled Maradona's move to Napoli, was using this random club, as one newspaper explained, to park the player until his value depreciated so he could keep the transfer fee to himself. You know how FIFA ended up banning agencies or other companies from owning the rights to a player's transfer? Well, this guy was paying off a club to hold 50% of the player's rights for him so he could skip all the downsides and possible future implications of third-party ownership. Who even knows what was going on behind the scenes, but in the end, Porto bought out Tokyo Verdy's share of the rights for 5.5 million euros, and at 22 years of age, Hulk came to Portugal. By November, he had already broken into the starting 11, and though he quickly got the fans a bit irritated with how inconsistent he could be, on a good day, he was out of this world, enough to get named the league's Young Player of the Year, enough to make it to the UEFA website as one of the 10 most promising players in the world, alongside Agüero, Busquets and Marchisio. In fact, enough that when they asked Maradona the same thing, Hulk was the first name on the list, and after playing Man United for the Champions League quarterfinals, even had Sir Alex Ferguson claiming he couldn't believe he had never been called up for Brazil. It was even said that Man United and Chelsea were coming for his signing, and it all got serious enough that Porto renewed his contract and set his release clause to 100 million euros, the highest in the history of Portuguese football, one that, if triggered, would make him the most expensive player in the history of the sport. So, of course, by the time his second season started, he really was getting called up to the national team, but though, for a moment, it all seemed to be going great, midway through the year, not only did they lose out against rivals Benfica, but in the aftermath of the match, several Porto players got into a scrap with one of the security guards in the tunnel, and in Hulk's words, "I was just trying to separate them, but I ended up taking the fall for it." Hulk was banned for 4 months, while several players that could be seen acting in a much more aggressive manner in the footage remained unpunished. It became one of the biggest scandals in the history of Portuguese football, especially when months later the federation overruled the disciplinary committee, reducing Hulk's ban from 23 to 4 matches, though by then he had already spent 18 matches on the sidelines, causing so much controversy that the league's president stepped down in protest. While Hulk was out, Porto had lost 2 matches and drawn another 5, completely killing any chance of taking their 5th league title in a row, repeating the iconic Penta. But once Hulk was back, he contributed to 9 goals in 9 matches, winning every single match left in the season, even assisting the decisive goal in the Portuguese Cup final. As someone said,
"They should have known not to make the Hulk angry."
So 3 months later, André Villas-Boas took over the team, and it was over for everyone else. Hulk took the award for the league's Player of the Month in September, October, November, December, and January. He was already on 27 goals and 10 assists for the season. Across all of Europe, only Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi had scored more goals than him. And yet, what stood out the most was his performance against Benfica. Before the match, with a lot of people theorizing that the reason Hulk had been targeted by the disciplinary committee so much more intensely than other players was that Benfica had pulled a few strings, believing they simply could not beat him. He was repeatedly asked about the tunnel incident, and every time he answered with no comment, any mention of any Benfica player, manager or higher up, and the answer was, "I don't know who that is." Even when Jorge Jesus tried to pressure him, claiming he wasn't a difference maker, no comment. He knew Jesus was bluffing, so much so that day he put David Luiz on the left, hoping that his golden boy would tie him down. 12 minutes in, Hulk had swallowed him up and assisted the first, then started a play that led to the second, won a penalty, converted it for the fourth, and hit the Luferino pose, before presenting us with a cherry on the cake, a shot from outside the box for the 5-0 win, using the press conference to address Jorge Jesus, saying, "Apparently he doesn't know me too well, but tomorrow he can pick up the papers and learn a bit more. I should be the guy in the front page." Porto ended up winning the league by a record margin, 21 points, completely unbeaten. Hulk finished the year as the league's top scorer, top assist provider, and the player of the season. And yet, again, what hurt the most was that he made sure to score the title-winning goal against Benfica at their stadium. They were so upset that the moment the final whistle was sounded, they turned off the lights, trying to stop the celebrations, but only ended up making them more iconic. Not to mention that, a month later, Porto had also won the Europa League and the Portuguese Cup to complete the travel. They were the best team since Mourinho's Porto, and Hulk, with 62 goal contributions, was left, right and center. So much so, Porto went out and bought 40% more of his rights, totaling 19 million for 90%, making him by far the most expensive signing in Portuguese history, though it would prove to be quite lucrative regardless. After one more year with call-ups to the national team, a screamer against Benfica just as their fans decided to start making monkey noises, a silver medal in the Olympics with a goal in the final, that screamer against Shakhtar Donetsk, as well as 21 goals, 15 assists and another league title, Chelsea made a €47 million offer that allowed Abramovich to lead the race for a while, until, at the very last second, his fellow countryman from Zenit hit Porto with a €60 million bid. Any other player would have made a fuss trying to force a move to Chelsea, but Hulk, nothing really moved him much. Not big names, not fame, not glory, and Zenit were offering $1 more million a year, so he took it. While Falcao went off to Atlético and almost made Ronaldo and Messi look human for a second, while James took over the world with the Colombian national team, Hulk became the 5th most expensive player in history, only to leave to a club with a fan base so racist that 14 days after his debut, they were already having to call a bomb-defusing squad after some guy planted a fake one at their training grounds with a picture of Hulk on it and a note saying, "Get out of our club." Regardless, he stood there taking the most absurd racist abuse you can imagine, with their biggest fan club at one point issuing a note demanding the team expel any black players, with some of his teammates having a problem with the fact he was earning more money than the Russians. But even after getting into a fight with Spalletti, admitting that he was looking for a new club and getting the chance to go out on loan to Real Madrid right after they missed out on the signing of Neymar, Zenit sacked Spalletti, brought in none other than André Villas-Boas and convinced them to stay. Because, after all, in 4 matches against AC Milan and Liverpool, Hulk had scored 3 and assisted another. What other player willing to play for Zenit could ever do something like that? They knew it was undeniable, and he only kept on getting better. After joining Neymar for the Confederations Cup and winning it all while assisting one of the finals goals, Hulk came in for his second season and put up 34 goal contributions in 2,800 minutes. He pretty much led them to the Champions League on his own, being directly involved in 4 of their 6 playoff goals, then opening the group stage with a goal against Atlético, then a goal and assist against his former club Porto, knocking them out of the competition and leading Zenit to their second ever presence in the last 16, where he scored twice, damn near bringing Dortmund down on his own. The guy was so impressive that by summer, despite playing all the way out in Russia, he was still brought in for the 2014 World Cup where, to his great demise, he just happened to be present for the famous 7-1 game, effectively killing his international career for good and destroying whatever remained of his reputation in Brazil. But here's where things get interesting. For a long time, Hulk didn't really take any drastic measures to fix that. He just stayed in Russia and kept improving. The next season, he pulled off 36 goal contributions, topping the league's charts and being named the Player of the Year as he led Zenit to only the 4th league title in their history, scoring against pretty much any team they came up against in European competitions, from PSV to Benfica and Sevilla. And by his final year, he's still at a whole new level with 51 goal contributions, 36 of those in just 2,300 minutes of game time, counting only towards the league campaign, where there were only 6 matches all year where he didn't get his name on the score sheet either through a goal or an assist, and still, they finished only 3rd, not to mention that he also scored or assisted against every team he faced in the Champions League, Valencia, Lyon, Ghent and Benfica, only to get knocked out early no matter what, even after UEFA put him in the group stage's team of the tournament. In 4 years, he was already Zenit's all-time top scorer in the Champions League, the biggest fish in the smallest of ponds, and yet, he didn't seem bothered. Even worse, he took another step down for more money, joining Shanghai SIPG in China where, man, I don't even know what to say. He literally looked like some guy playing against his little cousins. Imagine Prime Bale in the 3rd tier. But hey, 21 million a year, that's a lot of money, more than even Luis Suarez was making at the time, so of course he doubled down, and it only got worse. In the Asian Champions League, he scored in 9 matches in a row, not to mention the 8 assists, then he blanked 1 match, and they got knocked out. In the league, even with 33 goal contributions in 27 matches, they lost out on the title, and except for 1 successful season, ironically with Villas-Boas as the coach, again, it was pretty much like that for the whole 4 years he stayed there, until in 2019, Hulk divorced his wife of 12 years to marry her niece. Yes, her niece. You heard it right. And after that, for some reason, Hulk, 34 years old and now Shanghai's all-time top scorer in the Asian Champions League, felt a great desire to go back to Brazil, and thank God he did. After years of apparent indifference to the fact he wasn't even respected in his home country, Hulk joined Atlético Mineiro with the kind of hunger you'd expect from a teenager determined to prove himself. After 3 months out on the sidelines waiting for the federation to handle all the delays caused by the pandemic, Hulk actually started the year a bit slow, even getting benched at one point. But then, damn, 12 goal contributions in the first 15 league matches, then a goal and assist in the first round, another goal in the last 16, and 2 braces, one in the quarters and another in the semis to reach the final of the Copa Brazil, before closing out the year with 8 goals in the last 8 league matches, taking the title, topping the goal scoring charts and being named the Player of the Year, before coming back to score another brace in the final of the Copa Brazil, having already won the Mineirão Championship earlier in the year, meaning that, suddenly, Atlético Mineiro, with only won 1 league title in their history, had become only the second ever team to conquer the Brazilian travel. And again, left, right and center was Hulk, who with 36 goals and 13 assists became the first player in history to win both the Brazilian Cup and league titles, while finishing as the top scorer of both competitions. Not to mention his 10 goal contributions in 12 Libertadores matches that got him on the Team of the Year, despite falling 1 match short of the final. Hulk was so good that year that after 5 years without a call-up, he was even brought in by Brazil to play the World Cup qualifiers, though that led to nothing. Regardless, Hulk did it. 3 years later, he has now led Atlético Mineiro to 5 Mineirão championships in a row, scoring 7 goals across the 4 finals he played in, leaving them just 1 title short of their legendary 1980s run, where they took 6 in a row. He has changed his legacy forever, arriving at 34 and now 38. He has been involved in 147 goals in those 3.5 years with no signs of slowing down, and though I see how calling it a waste could be a little reductive, I just wish he had done the same for some big European club.